Alright, hello everyone and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast, Doug. In today's episode I'm going to be discussing not Thursday night football, but rather a Thursday slate of action for week 12 of the 2022 NFL season. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached that time of the year. It's Thanksgiving. The time of me recording this episode, Thanksgiving is almost over, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody, even though it is a bit late. I know I enjoyed my Thanksgiving, and I hope you all did as well. And we got 3 games on the docket, so we're going to go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Bills. So they did get the victory in this game, but I think there still are some serious concerns regarding this Bills team. And so, just to summarize, what is wrong with the Bills? Sure, they got kicked out of their home by the Elements and had to play the Browns in Detroit, and then turn right back around and go back to Detroit on Thursday to play the Lions. They still managed to win those 2 games despite injuries mounting and the Super Bowl pressure continuing to increase entering the home stretch of the season. But quarterback Josh Allen, who appears to be less than 100% healthy as a result of his elbow injury, has thrown 6 interceptions in a 3-game span prior. And Allen was again under pressure Thursday. He did take just 1 sack, yes, but he rarely seemed to have enough time to work in the pocket. And to note that he has taken 11 sacks in his previous 4 games. It didn't help that Deion Dawkins left the game with an ankle injury. And on the other side of the ball, their top pass rusher Von Miller also exited the game and did not return. Standout quarterback Tre'Davious White did return from a torn ACL, playing his first game of the season, but he didn't play any snaps after the second series. A Buffalo team that once routinely demolished the competition is finding itself fighting with lesser teams like the Lions, like the Jets and Lions. This offense does look a bit disjointed, and Sean McDermott's squad has just 1 game remaining against an opponent that possesses a losing record. And maybe this might be a bit of an overreaction, or maybe this might be accurate. Maybe this isn't Buffalo's season. Nonetheless, Josh Allen came through clutch in the end, so I wouldn't quite rule them out just yet. But ultimately, it does not seem like they are playing their best football right now, which is not ideal because the Chiefs are playing their best football, the Dolphins are playing their best football, so still got some stuff to figure out even though you won the game. Lions, well, they might not make the postseason, but they certainly look like a playoff team. Now, they might lead the NFL in moral victories, and while moral victories do not have value like actual victories, it is worth noting that Detroit looked like a playoff caliber team against a high-quality opponent. And that's nothing new. Detroit was riding their first 3-game winning streak in 5 years, and their win was most certainly within their reach, especially if they had done a better job managing the clock on the game tie-in late 4th quarter drive that could have been a game winner instead. And had that happened, the Lions would have been 5-6 and certainly better boosted their odds in the playoff picture. Now, they still might be able to close the gap and still might be able to boost their odds at 4-7, although the gap to wildcard teams like Dallas, the Giants, and even Seattle might be a bit too large with a not too easy schedule on the post-Thanksgiving horizon. Head coach Dan Campbell is getting plenty out of a squad that actually ranked above the league median and DVOA, which is defense adjusted value over average, entering week 12. I don't know what the point of that stat is, but it seems important because everybody talks about it, so I'll include it. TBD to be determined on Jared Goff being the long-term answer quarterback in Detroit, but they do have some key pieces, some foundational pieces like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, who wasn't available on Thursday, Taylor Decker, and Jamal Williams, who's the NFL touchdown leader. He added to that total of a score in this game. And it's hard not to believe that Campbell has earned another year on the job. At the very least, there's reason to be optimistic about this Lions team that at least provided some entertainment to kick off the Thanksgiving slate of action. Giants. So after their performance against the Cowboys, maybe it's time to reevaluate them in terms of being an actual playoff team and not just, what the record does for them in regards to the math. The Giants looked like on Thursday that they don't have what it takes to sustain their strong first half of their season. The division rival Cowboys gave them opportunities to pull off a road upset, but they failed to establish offensive balance with their running game unavailable. Giants defense wrecked by injuries couldn't keep up with the star-studded Dallas offense as the game wore on. When the Cowboys outscored Big Blue 21-0 to start the second half, the writing was on the wall with their injury list seemingly growing. I noticed that towards the end of the game, it seemed like guys were going down left and right on the defense. The Giants are now entering the home stretch, which contains one more meeting of a team that currently has a losing record. Their 6-1 start was impressive. I think it certainly exceeded expectations for this team going into the season, but the G-Men have now lost 2 of their last 4 games. At this point, they might not be able to hold up a hard-charging Commanders team to avoid last place in what is now a difficult NFC East, but if they do keep Washington at bay, they still might be able to sneak into the playoffs in a conference that certainly doesn't quite have a deep and strong middle class this season. But if that happens, if they do make the postseason, they might look like they don't really belong there unless they make some changes between now and January. But I don't really know what you can do to address the injuries on defense, and I don't really know what you can do to address the passing game at this point in the season. Cowboys, they might be a Super Bowl contender. 2 weeks ago, the Cowboys suffered a loss to the struggling Packers, and it seemed like that was nothing more than a setback for this team. I talked about it after the Vikings got beat badly by the Cowboys, that, good football teams, when they lose games to bad football teams, sometimes it's just merely a setback loss, and, the team is just going to simply come back the next week and, fire back the next week and take care of business. The Cowboys did that against the Packers, and then they took care of business against the Giants. Even with 2 first-half turnovers and 13 penalties, Dallas outplayed a contending Giants team, scoring at least 24 points for the 5th consecutive game. In doing so, the NFC's top-ranked team in terms of DVOA solidified its status as a prime Super Bowl contender. At 8-3, Dallas still remains 1.5 games back of the Eagles, but the Eagles have only scored 38 points combined in back-to-back performances against Washington and Indianapolis. Injuries also seem to be affecting them at the moment, so the Cowboys, they might be favored when they host Philly on Christmas Eve. Do note that the last time these teams played, it was Cooper Rush starting at quarterback, and this Cowboys team with Dak Prescott under center certainly plays different than when it does with Cooper Rush. No other team in the NFC has fewer than 4 losses except the Vikings, whom the Cowboys defeated 40-3 in Week 11, and also the Vikings are a bottom 10 team in DVOA. This wasn't a great Dallas performance, sure, but the game wasn't as close as the final score would indicate. Dak Prescott, one of the more talented and well-supported quarterbacks in the NFL. Micah Parsons, probably Defensive Player of the Year. And the Cowboys, they're relatively healthy. There's not really any major injuries that I can think of for this Cowboys team. And then when you look at their post-Thanksgiving path, it's, the runway's clear for this stacked Cowboys team to make a run at their first Super Bowl appearance in more than a quarter century. Patriots. Yeah, I don't think this Patriots team has it, or at least it didn't look like they have what it takes to be a playoff contender similar to the Giants. Now, the Patriots did move into contention in the AFC with a 5-1 run leading up to Thanksgiving, but due to a disappointing primetime loss to an inconsistent and perhaps overrated Vikings team, indicated once again that Bill Belichick's 2022 squad might be missing something. This time, the defense couldn't keep the Vikings offense out the field, but there were also penalties, special teams gaffes, and some missed opportunities for an offense that failed to find the end zone, despite 3 trips to the red zone. This was not a classic Belichick Patriots game. Now, the Patriots, give them credit. They had a nice midseason run, even though that schedule was soft, but I think this team has been a general unknown in terms of whether or not they have what it takes to make a real run at the postseason. Now they're back in the cellar of the AFC East, and they play the Bills next. I believe that game is in New England. And depending on the outcome of that game, it might be time to start thinking about 2023, the 2023 Patriots. At that point. Vikings. So their offense is loaded, and as a result, their ceiling remains high. Sure, the Vikings entered Week 12 with a scoring margin of just +5 and a DVOA in the bottom 10 despite possessing an 8-2 record, but the Vikings came up big on Thanksgiving with a clutch victory over a streaking, competitive Patriots squad. As per usual, this team not only reaches higher peaks than most, but also sees lower valleys than most. Now, that's often been a Kirk Cousins issue because he's lacked some consistency for much of his tenure in Minnesota, but Thursday night's outing at least provided a reminder that Minnesota has a high ceiling, and that's especially the case when Adam Thielen puts on his best performance of the season with 9 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. He and standout Justin Jefferson, who broke Randy Moss's record for most receiving yards through 3 seasons, combined for 18 receptions on the night. Jefferson had a couple ridiculous catches, but then again, what else is new? It seems like you just throw the ball to him and he catches it no matter what. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be close enough. And also TJ Hawkinson once again providing some solid production at the tight end position. So that is quite the trio for the Vikings to have in conjunction with Cousins and Dalvin Cook at running back. And when that crew on offense is clicking like they wanted Thursday, well, Minnesota was controlling the ball for more than 60% of the time against New England, and they converted 8 of 15 third down attempts against a team that had a top defensive DVOA. Now the Vikings, they might be frustrating at times to watch, but they've scored 33 or more points in 3 of the last 5 games, and if they can get hot in January, nothing can be ruled out with this Vikings team that knows how to close out games provided they aren't getting blown out. So I guess we'll see with that. And with that will wrap up this NFL discussion episode. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.